Hello, this is Christoph with Kaiserworks presenting the Beetle Interiors revision package. Last round we had some comments. We were going to circle back to a few items and give some alternative options. We're looking now at the lobby on the third floor. This is a new marble. We did not have this in the last iteration, and this is a bit of there was a request to change the upholstery in the conference room and to hit a more desert vibe overall, and we've been working towards that. And when you change one thing, you have to change other things. For example, changing this to a tan leather, all of a sudden this tan leather or pleather vegan leather competes with the chairs we were doing out here. When we changed this stone, it competed with what we had here. So it's a little bit of um, a moving target somewhat, and adding to that, a lot of the marble we had selected in the first round is no longer available. Some of those marble slabs were available in October, and so we're working with sort of a shifting availability. This is available currently. This is our Calcutta Viola marble, and let me just pivot us over to here, going into the conference room. I'm going to start with our preferred option, and I know Dave, you had asked us to deviate from the black. We've gone so many rounds on this and come back to the black for a number of reasons. We feel it is the strongest move for this room. We're willing to entertain other options, but we feel pretty strongly on this. I'll show you some other options right now. This is a lichen area rug, which is basically that green moss that grows on desert rocks. Is sort of the inspiration for this. And then this is this zebra stripe marble, which kind of plays off of this sculptural light above. This is the vegan leather arbor chair that we had previously. And just pivoting back to this entry scene, one of the reasons why we believe dark is good, it pulls your eye through the scene, has a gravity to it. When this becomes light, the whole scene starts to feel a little bit muddy, washed out, and I'll say overly feminine. It becomes sort of a pastel palette, and so we think to balance the room, the dark is needed. Here's a version where we're showing a vegan leather. Again, this is a saddle nubuck leather, and it pulls from stone aggregate that's in this marble slab here. This is, again, everything we're showing are actual photographs of actual slabs that are available today. This is not our favorite. I'll just come out and say we liked that it pulls from different pieces in the room, and it has some desert vibe to it. This is another version that is a one large slab of travertine. So this travertine, you can't really see too well here, but it has a texture to it, and it's like you almost cut a slab of the desert floor out of a table. Um, but again, here we've come full circle back to here, the dark here, picking up on the dark in these chairs and some of these other accents here. We feel is the right move for this room, and we're eager to hear your thoughts on that. Pivoting back here, I think this scene is important to take in because at the scene taken as a whole, with the cactus, with the conference room we just came out of, we feel is hitting that desert vibe. Definitely stronger than we were in the last iteration. We think a lot of the changes we've made are really hitting that note. And let me just pivot now to this table. Variation from the last round on this table, we're introducing a walnut as the top with the sycamore as this edge, and then sycamore for the rest of the pieces here. We've moved away from the upholstered chairs. These are different than the chairs that are behind us in this scene by virtue of them being dining chairs higher up. The other ones it's a wider chair design. But we feel that this plays very nicely with the sofa selection, as well as that Calcutta being reintroduced from the reception desk in the distance there. Pivoting over to our kitchen here. The kitchen, I'm going to show you this is the light. This is a Cartel light called Big Fly, and we thought this was great in its modern and mid-century mark that it hits. This actually comes in a number of different colors, and it also comes in, there are some metal versions which I cannot get to at this time. But that's what we're showing here, is this amber orange color sitting on top of this black marble. that we feel is just, it's a very striking image. You're going to get some of that orange glow on the kitchen above. This was from the previous iteration. This was our trough light. We were going to do a custom blue trough light that would sit above. I think this is still a good option. Right now, this is our preferred option. This is another option with a smaller globe light. This becomes a very sort of classic look, but it's a little bit lackluster, and it certainly doesn't punch you in the face with anything, which is why we landed on this. We think this, just adding that bit of color in this space, does a lot. And we're using, as we've said before, color sparingly when we're using it. It really becomes sort of the jewelry of a particular scene. Moving now to the north bullpen. These are our 32-inch diameter pan lights that are coming down, and you can see the presence they have in the space. It's a nice size light. We haven't yet found a new stool for the come along stations here. We're still working on that, but those will be replaced. And now we're approaching Dave's office. We're going to show you a number of iterations here, and surprisingly we found a good solution is reintroducing the Bellini sofa sparingly in this scene. And while you may say, hey, we already have that in the project, let's do something different, we think this is the right play. And it has to do with a little bit of brand consistency throughout the space, reintroducing and not having a palette which is like every time you turn your head you see something you haven't seen before. So we think reintroducing some of these, some of the palette and some of the materials, some of the actual selections from elsewhere in the space is a right and good play. This is a variation of what I just showed you. In this instance here, it's 6 foot 6 inches from the edge of the sofa to the glass. It's a little bit tight. We have this column to contend with, which has made this a difficult scene to dial in. That combined with the fact that we need glass to pass through whatever we're setting up as our scene. Another option here, this brings in the lounge furniture from when you step off at the elevator. Not our favorite. This is not my favorite. I like these sorts of sort of concourse mid-century furnishings that are warm and just a little bit more friendly, I think. And then this is a version where you have Bellini sofas coming all the way around. This is, I think, overkill. It's too much of a good thing. It's too much of the Bellini sofas. It starts to look like a sofa store. So this was not our favorite. This was actually one of the first versions that we looked at, and this was taking elements of our community table and having a continuous bench across the back and having this open seating. This works. There's a lightness here that we like, but there's also a visual clutter aspect that we're not in love with. We tried this in black as well, and that was not our favorite. Something else you'll notice in these images, we've actually moved away from doing a dark floor here. It feels fussy to do a floor change, and so we're actually opting right now for this particular setup with the Bellini sofa set against the back, so you can have a really nice sort of conversation triangle with this arrangement, reasonably sized. Again, we're dealing with the column in this scene, given the reality of that. But I think let me just back up here. Here we're standing at the desk, kind of looking back into that scene. We're showing a globe light, again bringing an element that you've seen elsewhere in the building into the space as a sort of dramatic 36-inch diameter, softly glowing pendant light that anchors the space. Is a fun, playful move. I do think there's an opportunity here to have multiple globes, but I don't think it's really necessary. A pendant's not necessary at all, but I think it does actually help ground the space nicely. Something else to mention about this arrangement, we're introducing the same material, this European sycamore, as a triangular piece that kind of squares off the angle that occurs at the front of every desk to square off this scene. We were liking the way that feels, but I think it could actually work without it. So we're open to either of those ideas. So yeah, we look forward to your thoughts on that. Pivoting around here, at last count we had red chairs, and for a few different reasons we're looking now at cornflower blue. And what I think we would do here is, if these are cornflower blue fabric, these are the Arbor chairs, really nice and sleek, sophisticated. These back here, as we start looking for new ones, would become red. potentially. So we would have a rust red or mid-century red accent in these chairs here, again around the corner in those cartel pendant lights. And then here you'd have the blue, and further down at the end of the hall you'd have that cornflower blue as the chair color as well. Circling back to this scene here, looking back across from the east side, looking west at this entire scene, we're really liking, after all of our sort of back and forth, this composition. We feel it hits the mid-century vibe, the desert vibe, and also just the modern contemporary office vibe in a good way. Heading downstairs, this is where we left off at last count, and Dave, I think you had said let's check out another option or two for that pendant light. And we hear that there's a lot of globes. We understand that. We actually do like the repetition in some degree. This is a cartel light, and it's actually what I think it's this one here. That cartel big fly. We think that could work really nicely in that space. It's very ephemeral, so you're looking through glass to glass to glass, and that's somewhat interesting. Over here we have the dance pendant. We've tried a number of pendant lights over there, and we really think this is the main one that really hits the mark. This is an interesting light here. This is a Werner Pantone VP suspension light, and it is here in actuality, or here's a photograph of it. Here's some precedent images with it, and this is in more of sort of a bar scene. So this light has as you can see, has a nice mid-century and quirky vibe to it. I wish these were 20% larger. They're a little bit small, and that's why we're grouping them together. But I do think this is a fun option, and it's a little bit of a play on the rest of the globes in the room. But we're also just being candid. We're a little bit. It may be too much of this sort of globe form happening again and again. This is not awesome whatsoever. This is a total placeholder. But if you can imagine, so right now this is just kind of a squiggle light here, and that is probably 1.5 inch diameter. If you imagine that, instead of it being 1.5 inch, being a 4-inch fat tube, so it would be a much clumsier light that has a lot more heavy presence. But I think something sculptural like that hanging above the this conference table could be a really nice move. Here we're just moving out to close on this scene. Here you can see that that cartel light again as an option. So we've played with what all these different lights could be. In one iteration you get the globe here, you do the dance here, and you have the cartel light here. You can also swap these where the cartel goes to this and the globe out here, or back to what I had showed you previously with the Werner Pantone option for those lights, or the squiggle. The squiggle again would be a fatter, clumsier sort of move. So we look forward to your thoughts on these. And by the way, this, as you can kind of see in here, this marble that we're showing is available. We're just not loving this. We've asked for another round of marble options. The one that we had in here before with the big body movement, we loved it, you loved it, and they're currently not available. That they're in a different part of the quarry, and marble's going fast these days. So now that we have the rest of our palette dialed in, we're confident that whatever we choose now, we can move fast. We know we need to move fast, grab that marble while we can. So we were entertaining this, but it simply doesn't have enough contrast with other things in the room, and you can see that again here with the contrast between the floor and that marble. So we're going to keep looking on our options there. Thank you.